This is my program from New York City, Congressman Peter King. Good morning, Congressman King.
Don, how are you?
Congratulations for sticking it to Janet Napolitano yesterday when he played on his briefing a few minutes ago.
Oh, that was the question about using the word terrorism?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago when she came in. She didn't use it at all in the statement, and I asked her about it at the time, and she said she intentionally did not use it. Instead, she used a term like man-made disaster and that type of thing. And part of it was, I think, when the Obama people came in 2 years ago, I think they really thought that once George Bush and Dick Cheney were gone, the terrorism was going to go away, that it really was not the issue that most of us thought it was. And now, 2 years later, she used the word 62 times in her testimony yesterday and said that the situation is as serious as it's ever been since 9/11. So anyway, she's doing the right thing, and we should all love each other.
What? I know what she said, but what do you think Why do you think that's changed?
No, actually, in all seriousness, I think there has been a real change in awareness by this administration. I mean, the first thing the president did when he came to office, signed an executive order to close Guantanamo. Guantanamo is still open. It's going to stay open. They're not going ahead with the civilian trials here in the United States. They are aggressively launching undercover operations into different Muslim communities in this country, despite the fact that they talk about the importance of civil rights and human rights and how Bush and Cheney were going after everyone. No, they realize how serious this issue is, and they realize that this is a worldwide threat, and it's here in the United States, it's overseas, and they realize now it's on their watch. They saw what happened with the attempted subway bombings in New York, with the Times Square bombing, with the Christmas Day bombing in Michigan, and they were aware of all the different plots that are out there. I mean, Eric Holder, probably the most liberal attorney general since Ramsey Clark, he said about 6 weeks ago that he can't sleep at night because he's so concerned about the large number of young Muslim men in this country who are willing to take up arms against their country. So I think reality is set in, and they realize that this is a dangerous, dangerous world, and that Islamic terrorism is extremely threatens our nation.
Talking with Congressman Peter King here in the Imus Morning Program. It's 20 minutes till the hour. Boy, we were really relieved because when this news first broke yesterday about Congressman Lee, a Republican congressman, we thought it was you, So.
Well, I guess when they said, a young, good-looking guy and women are after him, people probably thought it was me. But no, I'm one of those guys like Bernie. We just sit around places like Long Beach and have a beer every now and then. That's the extent of our problems. But listen, what happened with Chris Lee, to me, the resignation speaks for itself. You wonder what goes through a guy's head that he would actually put his face out there on Craigslist. And to me, it speaks for itself. I'll just leave it at that.
What?
No, I'm just saying, that's it.
I thought you had a stroke there for a second.
No, I was going to say something else. The guy's gone, and that's it. That's all. I'm just appealing to my own better impulses. I'm not going to say anything more.
Talking with Congressman Peter King, back to being serious. Speaking of Islam and all that and terrorism, what do you think's going on in Egypt?
Well, one of the problems is that, for whatever reason, our intelligence agencies don't fully know what's going on in Egypt. I mean, it's hard to believe that, there are people in the State Department, their only job is to follow what's happening in Egypt, and to have no idea right up until the moment it happens that 1 million people are going to be out in the street. We have so many people on the ground in Egypt their job is to monitor what's happening. So either this was totally spontaneous, or our people missed the ball. I don't know. Today, actually, I'm on the Intelligence Committee, and I'll be at a meeting today where we're going to get briefed on this to find out what was leading up to what's happening. Obviously, Mubarak has been there too long, but we have to be careful not just to push him out the door. This guy was a strong ally for 30 years, and it's going to send a signal. If we pull the rug too fast on him, this could spread to Jordan. It could spread to Morocco even. It could go to Syria without us knowing what the consequences there would be. But we have to, I believe, have a smooth transition, try to get one. If it comes down to, right now, probably the two most powerful organizations in Egypt would be the Army and the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood, I don't think was behind these demonstrations, but they're moving in very quickly, and they are probably the best organized political operation in the country, and I think they're very hostile to the U.S. The Army, we have a very close and good working relationship with the Egyptian Army, so I think it's important that we try to use them as a moderating force, and if we can work with them to hopefully come up with a leader who will not be anti-Israel, not be anti-U.S., because if they get someone in there who is hostile to Israel or just is going to rebuke the Israeli-Egyptian treaty, and that's a whole game changer in the Middle East if that happens.
It's a tough position, though, that the administration is in because, I agree with you. You don't want to just throw Mubarak completely under the bus, but if the prevailing sentiment in the country is anti-Mubarak, and somebody who these people rally around succeeds in replacing him, and we're seen as being too far in bed with Mubarak. It's just it's an impossible situation for us, I think.
No, there's no doubt. We realize that Mubarak has to leave. There's no doubt. But if
I was watching the King's speech here for a second.
What was that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Now, wait a minute. Now, here I'm trying to be a nice guy. I'm trying to bring my intelligence level down to yours so you'll understand it. I'm trying to do this. This is the kind of abuse I'm getting.
No, you're not getting any abuse. You just stuttered, and I just did a King's speech joke that was not that funny.
Well, that's a terrible thing to do.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, you're not. I don't accept it. But in any event, no, listen. Obviously, we can't stay with Mubarak, and it has to be done sooner rather than later. I'm just saying it has to be done in a way with a certain amount of diplomacy, with a certain amount of not giving the appearance like Gibbs did last week when he said it begins now or get him out right away, whatever expression he used. That's the wrong thing to do because other people are going to be looking at that. The Muslim Brotherhood types in Jordan are going to be looking at that. And also the King of Jordan is going to be looking at that. We go through each of these countries, and if they see that we're going to just move too quickly and abandon an ally, so it has to be done. We have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
And the Saudis are saying calm down. Well, anyway, back to Congressman Lee for a second.
Yeah.
We should have known it wasn't you. If it had been the congressman had taken his pants off, then. No, I'm just kidding.
I tell you, some guys never grow up, Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Are you a moron or what?
Yes, I am.
Okay, as long as that's just settled for the record, then we can go on to the rest of the conversation.
Thank you, Congressman King.
Okay, my pleasure.
Peter King, 14 till the hour here. Carly.
Yeah, some interesting comments yesterday from Janet Napolitano. She is the Homeland Security Secretary. She said that at this time we are facing the highest level of terror threat than at any time since 9/11/2001, and that's a long time ago. Joining us right now is the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Congressman Peter King. Congressman, you're on the phone with us. Listen, I do want to ask you more about what the Homeland Security Secretary said, but our top story this morning was Congressman Chris Lee, the upstate congressman who sent that picture of himself to a woman he met on Craigslist, a fellow Republican in the House of Representatives. You knew him. What's your reaction?
All I can say is, the resignation speaks for itself. It's obviously a bizarre behavior. I don't get into, judging someone's personal life, but when you put yourself on Craigslist, it's almost like there's a death wish there. It just makes absolutely no sense. It's indefensible. And also, to be honest with you, I haven't gotten along that well with Chris Lee the last few months because I thought he sold us out on the 9/11 health care bill. He was the only congressman from New York State to vote against it, and he had made a deal with someone because after that he was put on the Ways and Means Committee. So, what's happened, but to me that sort of turned me against Chris at the time when to me it was such a vital issue of health for so many people who were suffering. And the last minute he walked away from us.
Right. It was a little surprising, though, how quickly he walked away from it. I mean, as you mentioned, kind of shameful behavior, odd, bizarre for a married congressman to be doing this and portraying himself as single online and sending this photo. But having said all that, nothing illegal there, nothing against the law.
Yeah, Greg, all I would say again, I never want to get into judging someone's personal life, but I would say if he's 46 years old and his picture's on Craigslist, probably not the first time he's done something that might be out there, and he just figured the easiest thing to do is get out because, if he had not gotten out yesterday, the media would be going into every bit of his past, try to track everything down. He probably just felt, it's the best way to go.
Okay, on to what happened yesterday. Janet Napolitano, Homeland Security Secretary, saying that the level of threat we are facing higher than at any time since 9/11/2001. Are you in agreement with her? I mean, I remember October, November, December 2001, the anthrax scare. I mean, those were very tense times. Is it just as bad now as it was then?
It's a different type of threat. I think part of what you see with Janet Napolitano is that when she came in 2 years ago, she refused to even use the word terrorist. Yesterday, she used it 62 times. I think the administration has realized over the last 2 years how serious the threat has gotten, and now it's finally hit them. Now, what's different about the threat is, back after 9/11, we had to worry about an attack coming from overseas. Right now, because of the defenses that have been set up, it's very difficult for al-Qaeda to attack us from overseas. They've changed. They are now trying to recruit from within the country. We saw it with the Times Square bomber. We saw it with Zazi, the subway bomber, and any number of other cases we've had in Texas and Baltimore, Portland, Oregon. So it's a different type threat. It's under the radar screen. The type of attack would not be as severe as on September 11th, and the terrorists are not as well trained. The bad part is we don't know who they are. It's much, much harder to find out who they are. And so it's a different threat. But whether it's the way it is now or the way it was 7 or 8 years ago, this is a massive threat to the United States, and it's going to be ongoing. And I'm glad the administration has finally realized it.
Congressman King, we're glad you're back in your spot. It's good to have a New Yorker on the Homeland Security Committee. But we did have this report earlier this week that some Republicans in Congress still working against money coming to New York City, that $100 million for the NYPD. What can you tell us?
Yeah, we defeated that yesterday. This was money that is absolutely essential to secure the United Nations. The NYPD, the commissioner, have been, for the last several years, convincing the United Nations how dangerous the site could be. I'm not getting into any details, but real work has to be done to harden that site. And Republicans, House Republicans, thought they were going to take $100 million away from the United Nations. That would look like it was a big taxpayer benefit. Actually, the $100 million was coming away from the security for New York. They brought it to a vote in the House floor yesterday. I led the fight against it, and it didn't endear me to all my Republican colleagues, but we were able to stop it.
Congressman Peter King, we got to go. Thanks very much for joining us again.
Greg, thank you.
Okay.